The huge space station floated in the darkness between stars. It was bigger than Earth's moon and shined with bright lights from 1,000 different worlds. This was the home of the Galactic Council, where all the smart alien races made decisions for the galaxy. Captain Lee Tae-min walked through the long halls of the station. His boots made soft sounds on the metal floor. He wore the blue uniform of Earth's Space Navy, with small flags of his home planet on his shoulders. Other beings moved past him in the halls. Some were tall and made of living crystal. Others looked like giant bugs with many arms. Some were just floating balls of light that talked without mouths. Lee stopped at a big door that led to the main meeting room. Above the door, words in 100 alien languages said, "Council Chamber." He took a deep breath and walked inside. The room was enormous. It had seats for thousands of beings, all arranged in circles around a center stage. Most of the seats were empty today, but the important ones were filled. Lee found his small seat in the back corner, marked Human Observer. The sign was tiny compared to the huge banners that hung above the alien leaders. Ambassador Park Ji-woo was already sitting in the human section. She was a small woman with gray hair and kind eyes, but Lee knew she was one of the smartest people on Earth. She had spent 30 years learning alien languages and customs. Today she looked worried. "How bad is it?" Lee whispered to her. Park shook her head. "Worse than we thought. They called this meeting just to talk about us." In the center of the room, 3 massive beings sat on golden thrones. The first was Vextar, the leader of the Vorthak people. He looked like a mountain made of blue crystal, with sharp edges that caught the light. When he spoke, his voice sounded like breaking glass. Next to him sat Queen Zephyra of the Quilics. She was the size of a small building, with 6 arms and hundreds of small creatures crawling all over her body. The Quilics were a hive mind. All of them shared one big brain, and the queen was their voice. The third leader was the strangest. Astrolux looked like a small star floating in the air. It was made of pure energy and changed colors when it talked. The Luminari had given up their physical bodies millions of years ago to become beings of light. Vextar stood up from his throne. The sound of crystal grinding against crystal filled the room. "We meet today to discuss the human problem," he said. His voice was loud and cold. "These new beings have asked to join our great civilization, but are they worthy?" Many alien voices began talking at once. Lee heard words like primitive and dangerous and should be stopped. He felt his hands make fists, but Ambassador Park touched his arm. "Stay calm," she whispered. "Let them talk first." Queen Zephyra spoke next. When she talked, it sounded like 1,000 voices speaking together. "The Quilics have studied these humans. They think as individuals, not as a group. This makes them unpredictable and hard to control. They fight each other over small things. How can such beings help our peaceful galaxy?" The floating star that was Astrolux began to glow brighter. "The Luminari agree. Humans still live in physical bodies. They have not evolved beyond the need for food, sleep, and other primitive desires. They are like children playing with dangerous toys." Lee watched as more alien leaders stood to speak. All of them said the same thing in different ways. Humans were too young, too violent, too stupid to be part of galactic civilization. A tall being that looked like a walking tree raised one of its branches. "The Verdani have watched human history. They have had over 300 wars in just the last 1,000 years. They cannot even make peace on their own planet." "The Cathari have seen human ships," said a creature covered in metal scales. "Their technology is centuries behind ours. Their fastest ships would take years to cross distances we travel in days." On and on it went. Every alien race had something bad to say about humans. They talked about humans like they were insects or pets, not real people with feelings and dreams. Finally, Vexitar raised one crystal hand for silence. "Enough talk. Here is what the Council has decided. The humans may stay in their own solar system. They may not travel to other worlds without our permission. They may not build new weapons or ships without our approval. If they obey these rules, we will protect them from the dangers of the galaxy." The crystal being's eyes glowed brighter. If they refuse to follow our wisdom, we will have to stop them by force. For their own good, of course. Ambassador Park stood up slowly. Her voice was quiet, but somehow everyone in the huge room could hear her. May I speak? Laughter filled the chamber. It was not kind laughter. It was the sound of adults making fun of a child who said something silly. The little human wants to talk, Queen Zephyra said, and her 1,000 voices sounded amused. Very well, speak quickly before we lose interest. Park walked down to the center of the room. She looked very small, surrounded by the giant alien leaders, but she did not seem afraid. We came here seeking friendship, she said. We brought gifts from our world, music, art, stories, and new ideas. We hope to learn from you and to share what we have learned. Astrolux's light flickered like laughter. What could primitives, like you, teach beings such as us? We could teach you about courage, Park said quietly. About never giving up, even when things seem impossible. We could teach you about creativity, finding new ways to solve old problems. We could teach you about sacrifice, putting others before yourself. Courage? Vextar's voice cracked like thunder. You speak of courage to races that have ruled the stars for millions of years? Your entire species is younger than some of our buildings. Creativity? Queen Zephyra's many voices buzzed with annoyance. The Quilix have perfect coordination. We do not need the chaos of individual thinking. Sacrifice? Astrolux burned brighter. The Luminary have moved beyond such crude emotions. We make decisions based on logic, not feelings. Ambassador Park nodded slowly. I understand. You see our differences as weaknesses. Because they are weaknesses, Vextar said. You are fragile. You live for only a few decades. You cannot agree on simple things. You waste energy on emotions and dreams instead of working together efficiently. Park looked around the room at all the alien faces, crystal, metal, energy, and stranger things. You may be right. We are young. We are still learning. We make mistakes. She paused and took a breath. But we also do things that surprise people. When someone tells us something is impossible, we find a way to do it anyway. When someone says we are too weak, we prove them wrong. When someone tries to keep us down, we stand up. The room was very quiet now. Even the small creatures that lived on Queen Zephyra had stopped moving. You want to put us in a cage? Park continued. You want to make our choices for us. You think we will just accept this because you are bigger and older and have better technology. Vextar leaned forward on his throne. You will accept it, little human, because you have no choice. Your ships are toys. Your weapons are primitive. Your entire fleet could not defeat a single one of our capital ships. Ambassador Park smiled then, but it was not a happy smile. It was the kind of smile a person makes when they know something others do not. You are probably right about that, too, she said. But here is something you should know about humans. We do not like being told what we cannot do. We do not like being treated like children. And we really do not like being threatened. She looked directly at Vextar, then at Queen Zephyra, then at Astrolux. Her voice was still quiet, but now it had an edge like steel. We came here seeking friendship, but if you mistake our desire for peace as weakness, that would be your first and last mistake. Her eyes seemed to look at every being in the room at once. Don't you dare to challenge humans, we warned you. The silence that followed was complete. No one spoke, no one moved. Even the lights seemed to dim. Then Vextar began to laugh. It was a sound like glaciers breaking apart. Soon Queen Zephyra was laughing too, and Astrolux was flashing like a broken light. All around the room, aliens were making the sounds their species made when they found something funny. Did you hear that? Vexitar said between laughs. The little human is threatening us with what? Their tiny ships, their primitive weapons? But as the laughter died down, Captain Lee noticed something. Some of the aliens were not laughing. Some were watching Ambassador Park with thoughtful expressions, and in the back of the room, a few beings were quietly talking to each other and pointing at the humans. Park turned and walked back to her seat. As she passed Lee, she whispered, "Now we go home and get ready. Ready for what? Lee asked. For them to test whether we meant what we said. As the council session ended and beings began to leave, Lee saw alien leaders gathering in small groups. They looked at the humans as they talked. It was not the same way they had looked before, like looking at pets or children. Now they looked at the humans the way hunters look at something they are not sure they can catch. Outside the station, the human ship New Sol waited among a forest of alien vessels. It was small and plain compared to the others, with no fancy decorations or glowing lights. But as Captain Lee looked at it, he felt a strange pride. Maybe they were right. Maybe humans were young and weak and primitive. But they were also stubborn. And sometimes being stubborn was enough. As the New Sol began its journey back to Earth, messages were already flying between the alien homeworlds. 3 months had passed since Ambassador Park spoke those warning words to the Galactic Council. The aliens had not forgotten. They had spent those months planning and preparing for what they called the human test. Admiral Choi Min-ho stood on the bridge of his flagship, the Incheon Victory. Through the big windows he could see the darkness of space around Earth's solar system. But today, that darkness was filled with enemy ships. Report. Admiral Choi said to his communications. Officer, 500 alien vessels, sir. Lieutenant Lim So-young replied. Her voice was steady, but Choi could see her hands shaking slightly as she worked at her control panel. They came out of hyperspace 2 hours ago and formed a blockade around our entire solar system. Admiral Choi was a tall man with gray hair and tired eyes. He had fought in Earth's last war 20 years ago, but nothing had prepared him for this. The alien fleet was massive. Each of their ships was 3 times bigger than his largest vessel. They had weapons that could destroy planets and shields that could stop anything humans could throw at them. How many ships do we have? He asked. 50. Combat vessels, sir? Commander Yoon Soo-jin answered from her station. Plus about 200 civilian ships that are trying to get away from the outer planets. 50 against 500. The numbers were not good, but Admiral Choi had not risen to his rank by giving up when things looked bad. Send a message to all ships, he said. Battle stations, full combat readiness, and get me a line to Earth Command. On the main screen, the image of the alien fleet filled the view. The ships were beautiful in their own terrible way. The Vorthak vessels looked like floating mountains of crystal, each one sparkling with deadly energy. The Quilix ships were dark and organic, covered in what looked like armor made from living metal. The Luminari craft were the strangest. They appeared to be made of solid light, constantly changing shape and color. At the center of the alien formation was the largest ship any human had ever seen. It was the Crystal Dominance, the flagship of the Vorthak war fleet. From its command center, War Leader Crix was already sending messages to Earth. The alien's voice filled the bridge of every human ship. It sounded like grinding stone and breaking glass. Humans of the 3rd planet, you spoke brave words in the council chamber. Now we will see if your actions match your words. Admiral Choi activated the communication system. This is Admiral Choi Min-ho of the Terran Defense Fleet. State your intentions. Laughter came through the speakers. It was not pleasant laughter. Our intentions are simple, little Admiral. Your leaders claim that humans should not be underestimated. We are here to test that claim. On Earth, President Moon Jae-in was meeting with his military advisors in an underground command center. General Kang Dong-woo, the head of Earth's defense forces, was showing him pictures of the alien fleet. They have us completely surrounded, General Kang said. Nothing can get in or out of the solar system. They could destroy us all in a matter of hours. What do they want? President Moon asked. Surrender, Dr. Han Na-young said from her place at the conference table. She was the head of the Terran Defense Research Institute, and she had been working day and night since the aliens arrived. They want us to give up without a fight. They want to prove that humans are weak. President Moon was quiet for a long moment. He was thinking about Ambassador Park's words at the council, about the promise she had made, about the warning she had given. Dr. Han, he said finally, is Project Prometheus ready? Dr. Han smiled, but it was a tired smile. We have been working on it for 50 years, ever since we first learned we were not alone in the galaxy. It is as ready as it will ever be. Then activate it. Send the authorization codes to all ships. Back in space, Commander Yoon was piloting her small ship, the Silent Tiger, through the outer edge of the solar system. Her job was to watch the alien fleet and report their movements. What she saw surprised her. The aliens were not preparing for a real battle. They had formed their ships in perfect parade formations, like they were getting ready for a ceremony instead of a war. Their weapons were not powered up. Their shields were set to minimum strength. "They think we are going to surrender without fighting," she reported to Admiral Choi. "They are treating this like a training exercise." Admiral Choi felt anger rise in his chest. The aliens had come to his home system with 500 warships, and they expected humans to just give up. They thought humans were so weak that they would not even try to fight back. War Leader Crix sent another message. "Little humans, you have 1 day to surrender. Send your leaders to our flagship to sign the papers that will make Earth a protectorate of the Galactic Council. Your people will be relocated to work camps where they can be useful to civilization." Work camps. The aliens wanted to turn humans into slaves. "Sir," Lieutenant Lim said quietly, "we are getting reports from all over Earth. People are scared. Some are saying we should surrender. They say fighting is hopeless." Admiral Choi understood their fear, but he also remembered something his grandfather had told him about the old wars on Earth. "Sometimes," the old man had said, "you have to fight not because you can win, but because some things are worth fighting for, even if you lose." "Get me a channel to the entire fleet," Admiral Choi ordered. When the channel was open, he spoke to every human ship at once. "This is Admiral Choi. I know you are scared. I am scared too. The aliens have more ships than us. They have better weapons. They have stronger shields." He paused, thinking of the right words. "But they made one mistake. They think that because we are young and small and outnumbered, we will just give up. They think humans will roll over and play dead like frightened animals." His voice got stronger. "They do not understand that humans have never been good at giving up. When the odds are against us, we do not surrender. We adapt. We improvise. We find a way." On Earth, Dr. Han was sending out the final activation codes for Project Prometheus. All across the planet, secret facilities were coming online. These were places that had been built in hidden locations over the past 50 years. The aliens knew about Earth's main military bases and factories, but they did not know about these secret sites. In underground bunkers, new weapons were being loaded onto transport ships. In hidden laboratories, scientists were making final adjustments to equipment that did not appear in any official reports. In orbital platforms that looked like civilian space stations, advanced defense systems were powering up for the first time. Humans had been preparing for this day since they first realized they were not alone in the galaxy. They had hoped it would never come, but they had not been naive enough to believe it would not. Admiral Choi received a coded message from Earth Command. "Prometheus active," it said. "All systems green. You are authorized to engage." He looked around his bridge at the faces of his crew. They were young men and women who had joined the Space Navy to explore the stars, not to fight wars. But they were ready. "Send a message to the alien fleet," he ordered. Lieutenant Lim opened the communication channel. Admiral Choi's words went out to every alien ship in the system, War Leader Crix, and the Galactic Council fleet. "You came to our home system with threats and demands. You want us to surrender without fighting. You want to turn our people into slaves." He stood up from his command chair. "But you were warned. Ambassador Park told you not to underestimate humans. She told you not to challenge us. You chose not to listen." All across the human fleet, ships were changing. Panels were opening to reveal weapons that had been hidden. Engines were being modified to run at power levels that should have been impossible. Shields were being reconfigured with new technology that the aliens had never seen before. "You think we are primitive?" Admiral Choi continued. "You think we are weak. You think we will surrender because you have bigger ships and more advanced technology." In the alien fleet, War Leader Crix was watching his sensors with growing confusion. The human ships were doing something strange. They were moving into attack formation, but not any attack formation that appeared in military textbooks. They were spreading out in a pattern that made no sense. You are right about some things, Admiral Choi said. We are young. We are small. We do not have as many ships as you do. The human ships were accelerating now, not away from the alien fleet but toward it. This was not what the aliens had expected. Civilized species did not charge directly at superior forces. They either surrendered or tried to run away. But you are wrong about the most important thing, Admiral Choi said, and now his voice was hard as steel. You are wrong if you think humans will surrender our freedom without a fight. You are wrong if you think we will let you turn our families into slaves. And you are wrong if you think we will go quietly. War Leader Krisk realized that something was very wrong. The human ships were not following any logical battle plan. They were not doing what defeated enemies were supposed to do. Admiral Choi gave his final message to the alien fleet. To the Galactic Confederation, you were warned. Humanity chooses to stand. Come and take what you think you can. Then he turned to his crew. All ships, this is Admiral Choi. Engage the enemy. Show them what humans are really made of. The battle for Earth was about to begin. The aliens had come expecting an easy victory over a primitive species. The first shots of the battle came from the alien fleet. Bright beams of energy shot out from the crystal ships, crossing the dark space toward the approaching human vessels. The aliens expected to see human ships exploding and breaking apart. Instead, something impossible happened. The human ships dodged. War Leader Krisk watched from his command center with growing confusion. The energy beams should have hit their targets easily. The human ships were smaller and slower than alien weapons. But somehow, they were not where the targeting computers said they should be. Captain No Jae-sung commanded the human destroyer Thunder Mountain. When the alien weapons fired at his ship, he did something that no alien commander would have thought possible. He turned his ship directly toward Earth and used the planet's gravity to pull his vessel into a spinning dive. The alien energy beam passed through empty space where his ship had been a moment before. The Thunder Mountain came out of its dive, moving twice as fast as before, heading straight for Aquilix heavy cruiser. Impossible, hissed Queen Zephyra from her flagship. No ship can maneuver like that. The gravity forces would destroy the vessel. But humans had grown up on a dangerous planet. They were used to forces that would kill most alien species. What seemed impossible to the aliens was just another challenge to overcome. Lieutenant Colonel Shin Yunbi was leading a squadron of 12 human fighters against a formation of 50 Vorthak interceptors. The alien ships moved in perfect formation, just like they had been taught in their military academies. They fired their weapons together, turned together, and attacked together. The human fighters did not move in formation at all. Each pilot was making their own decisions, flying their own pattern, attacking their own targets. To the aliens, it looked like chaos. They could not predict what the humans would do next, because the humans were not following any plan that made sense. Shin dove her fighter, Soul's Fury, under the alien formation while her wingman climbed above it. Two other pilots flew sideways around the aliens while the rest of the squadron scattered in different directions. The Vorthak interceptors did not know which target to shoot at first. In the confusion, Shin found herself flying directly at the command ship of the alien formation. The Vorthak pilot saw her coming and tried to turn away, but he was too slow. Shin's fighter was smaller and faster, and she had been trained to make impossible shots. Her plasma cannon fired once. The beam cut through the crystal hull of the alien ship like a knife through glass. The Vorthak interceptor exploded in a shower of bright fragments. First kill goes to Lieutenant Colonel Shin, came the voice over the human communication system. All across the battle zone, human pilots heard the news and felt their confidence grow. But the real shock came when Major Song Woo-jin did something that made the entire galaxy take notice. Song was piloting his fighter toward a Vorthak capital ship when his targeting computer was destroyed by enemy fire. The massive alien vessel was too big to avoid, and its shields were too strong for his small weapons to damage. Any sensible pilot would have turned away to find an easier target. Song accelerated directly toward the crystal mountain of the enemy ship. "Major Song, what are you doing?" came the voice of his squadron leader over the radio. "Something stupid," Song replied. Or something brilliant? We will find out in a few seconds. The aliens watched in amazement as the tiny human fighter flew straight into the crystal structure of their capital ship. They expected the fighter to smash against the hull and be destroyed. Instead, Song had found something no alien had ever looked for. The crystal ships were beautiful, but they had a weakness. Between the large crystal sections, there were small gaps where different parts of the hull connected. The gaps were tiny, too small for most alien ships to use, but human fighters were smaller than alien fighters, and Song was a very good pilot. His ship flew through the gap and into the interior of the alien vessel. Once inside, he had a clear shot at systems that were never meant to be attacked from within. Song's plasma cannon destroyed the ship's main reactor. The entire Vorthak capital ship went dark and began to drift helplessly through space. Impossible, War Leader Chris said, watching his sensors in shock. How did they do that? The answer was simple, but the aliens did not understand it yet. Humans were the only species in the galaxy that had evolved from predators. Every other intelligent race had developed from creatures that ate plants, lived in groups for safety or avoided conflict. Humans were different. Their ancestors had been hunters. They were used to finding weaknesses in bigger, stronger opponents. They were used to taking risks that other creatures would never consider. While the alien commanders were still trying to understand what had happened, more human ships were making their own impossible attacks. Commander Yoon Soo-jin brought her stealth corvette Silent Tiger close to a luminary energy vessel. The aliens did not detect her approach because human stealth technology was built differently than anything they had seen before. Other species made their ships invisible by bending light around them or by hiding their energy signatures. Humans had learned to make their ships look like space debris, chunks of rock and metal that were scattered throughout every solar system. When the Silent Tiger got close enough, Yoon activated a weapon that surprised the Luminari even more than Song's attack had surprised the Vorthak. Humans had invented boarding pods. The idea was simple. Instead of trying to destroy enemy ships from the outside, humans would get inside them and destroy them from within. No other species had ever thought of this because no other species was crazy enough to try it. Sergeant Park Young-ho led the first boarding team into a Quillex hive ship. The aliens were not prepared for combat inside their own vessels. Their ship designs did not include defenses against enemies who were already aboard. Park and his team moved through the alien ship like they owned it. They had studied captured Quillex technology for months, learning the layout of their vessels and the weaknesses of their internal systems. Within minutes, the boarding team had taken control of the hive ship's navigation system. The massive alien vessel turned and began firing on its own fleet. What is happening? Queen Zephyra's 1,000 voices screamed in confusion. Why are our ships attacking us? The answer came from Admiral Choi over the open communication channel. Because now they are our ships. By the end of the first day of VOW, Battle the Impossible had happened. The human fleet had destroyed 50 alien vessels and captured 20 more. The aliens had managed to destroy only 12 human ships. But the numbers were not the most shocking part. What terrified the alien commanders was how the humans fought. Every alien species had a predictable way of conducting war. The Vorthak used overwhelming force and perfect formations. The Quillex coordinated their attacks through their shared mind. The Luminari relied on superior technology and energy manipulation. Humans did not fight like any known species. Every human ship seemed to have its own plan. Every human pilot was trying something different. Just when the aliens thought they understood what the humans were doing, the humans would do something completely different. War Leader Chris tried to adapt his strategy to counter the human tactics. But how could he plan against an enemy that had no plan? How could he predict an opponent that seemed to make up their strategy as they went along? Send more ships, he ordered his communications officer. Call in reinforcements from the nearest battle groups. Sir, the officer replied, we already have 500 ships. How many more do we need to defeat 50 human vessels? Chris looked at his tactical display. In one day, his mighty fleet had lost more ships to the humans than they had lost in the previous 10 years of galactic peacekeeping. Send word to the council. Tell them that humans are not what we expected. On Earth, Dr. Hanna Young was monitoring the battle from her command center. Project Prometheus was working perfectly. The secret weapons and technologies that humanity had developed over 50 years were finally being used, but the real secret was not the technology. It was the humans themselves. The aliens fight like they are following a textbook, she explained, to General Kang. They do what their training tells them to do. They follow plans made by their commanders. She pointed to a screen showing the battle. But our people are not following a plan. Each captain is making their own decisions based on what they see. Each pilot is adapting to the situation in real time. The aliens cannot predict what we will do next, because we do not know what we will do next. General Kang watched as another human ship did something impossible, using a destroyed alien vessel as a shield while attacking 3 other enemy ships from behind. Are we winning? Dr. Han smiled. We are doing something better than winning. We are teaching the galaxy that humans are not primitive weaklings who can be pushed around. The battle continued through the night. Human ships appeared where the aliens did not expect them. Human weapons fired from angles that should have been impossible. Human tactics ignored every rule of proper space combat. By morning, the alien fleet was no longer confident of an easy victory. War leader Krisk had lost more than 200 ships, and the humans were still fighting. They are like nothing we have ever encountered, he reported to the Galactic Council. They do not fight with honor or follow proper combat protocols. News of the human victory spread across the galaxy faster than light itself. On every alien world, beings who had never heard of humans before suddenly knew their name. The story was always the same. A primitive species had defeated a superior, Galactic Council fleet. But it was more than just a military victory. It was something that changed how every species in the galaxy thought about warfare, about strength, and about what it meant to be civilized. Ambassador Park Ji-woo stood on the bridge of what used to be the Crystal Dominance, the Vorthak flagship. Now it was her ship, captured in battle and renamed the New Soul. War leader Krisk sat in chains nearby, his crystal form cracked and dim. I do not understand, Krisk said, his voice like breaking glass. We had more ships. We had better technology. We had superior firepower. How did you defeat us? Park looked out at the wreckage of the alien fleet floating in space around Earth. You made the same mistake that bullies always make. You thought that being bigger and stronger was the only thing that mattered. She turned to face the defeated alien commander. But humans learned long ago that it is not the size of the fighter that matters. It is the size of the fight in the fighter. Fleet Admiral Kim Da-won was commanding the human fleet from his new flagship, the Soul Vengeance. It was a Vorthak dreadnought that had been captured and improved with human technology. The combination of alien power and human creativity had created something entirely new. Admiral, reported Chief Engineer Ryu Min-suk from the engine room, we have successfully integrated the alien hyperdrive systems with our navigation computers. We can now travel faster and farther than any ship in the galaxy. Kim smiled. Humans had always been good at taking other people's inventions and making them better. Now they were doing it with alien technology. Prepare the fleet for departure, he ordered. It is time to show the galaxy that Earth's solar system is no longer our prison. The first human deep space offensive began 3 days later. Captain Bae Sung-min led a strike force of 20 ships toward a Vorthak supply depot in the Kepler system. The aliens expected humans to stay near Earth, defending their home world. Instead, the humans went hunting. The Pusan Vengeance appeared at the edge of the Kepler system without warning. The Vorthak supply ships tried to escape, but human ships were now faster than alien vessels. The depot was destroyed in minutes, and the human fleet disappeared back into hyperspace before reinforcements could arrive. Impossible, Queen Zephyra said when she received the report. How did they travel so far so fast? Human ships do not have that range. They do now, replied her intelligence officer, a smaller Quillix drone. Our captured crews report that humans have been studying our technology and improving it. They have taken our hyperdrive systems and made them work better than the originals. This was something new in galactic warfare. When the Vorthak conquered a species, They destroyed their technology to prevent rebellion. When the Quillex absorbed a civilization, they replaced that species' knowledge with their own shared wisdom. Humans did neither. They studied everything, learned from everyone, and combined the best ideas into something entirely new. Colonel O.G. Young was conducting a different kind of warfare from her base on the captured alien space station. She was in charge of psychological operations, warfare that attacked the enemy's mind instead of their ships. Broadcasting on all frequencies, reported her communications specialist. Every alien ship in the sector will receive our message. O's message was simple but effective. To all Galactic Council forces, this is Colonel O of the Terran Psychological Warfare Division. We know you are listening. We know you are afraid. The message continued with detailed information about alien fleet movements, supply lines, and defensive positions. Information that the aliens thought was secret. We have studied your tactics. We know your weaknesses. We know exactly how to defeat each of your species in combat. The question is not whether we can beat you. The question is whether we will choose to do so. The psychological effect was devastating. Alien commanders began to question their own security. How did humans know so much about their operations? Were there human spies in their fleets? Were their own communications being monitored? The truth was simpler than they thought. Humans were very good at watching and learning. Captain Nam Hyo-jin commanded a fleet of stealth ships that followed alien task forces from a distance, recording everything they did. The Quillex always attack in the same formation, she reported to Earth. Command. The Vorthak always retreat when they lose 20% of their ships. The Luminari always try to disable enemy vessels instead of destroying them. Every alien species fought according to patterns that had worked for millions of years. But patterns could be predicted, and what could be predicted could be defeated. Dr. Yoon Tai-Wung had a different job. He was Earth's chief xenobiology expert, and he was studying captured alien prisoners to understand how their bodies and minds worked. Fascinating, he reported to his research team. The Vorthak have perfect memory, but cannot adapt quickly to new situations. The Quillex share information instantly, but cannot think as individuals. The Luminari can manipulate energy, but are vulnerable to certain frequencies of sound. Each discovery became a new weapon in humanity's growing arsenal. Humans were not just fighting the aliens, they were learning everything about them and using that knowledge to win. The galaxy had never seen anything like it. Most species fought wars to gain territory or resources. Humans seemed to fight wars to learn new things. Negotiator Seo Hyun-jung was working on the diplomatic front. When alien ambassadors came to Earth seeking peace talks, she presented them with demands that shocked the galactic community. First, she said to a delegation of Luminari diplomats, complete alien withdrawal from human space. Second, payment for damages caused by your illegal blockade. Third, formal recognition of human sovereignty over our territory. The aliens were stunned. But you are the inferior species, protested the lead Luminari diplomat. You should be grateful that we are willing to negotiate instead of simply destroying you. SEO smiled coldly. You tried to destroy us. It did not work out the way you planned. She activated a holographic display showing the wreckage of the alien fleet around Earth. Perhaps you need to reconsider your definition of inferior and superior. The real shock came when the aliens realized that humans were not just defending themselves. They were expanding. Analyst Lee Kyung-ho was tracking alien fleet movements from his intelligence center on Earth. The Quillex are pulling ships back from their outer colonies, he reported. The Vorthak have canceled 3 expansion missions. The Luminari are recalling their exploration fleets. Why? Asked General Kang. Because they are afraid, Lee replied. They do not know where humans will strike next. Every alien commander is looking over their shoulder, wondering if human ships are watching them. This was psychological warfare on a galactic scale. The aliens had gone from confidence to fear in just a few months. They were no longer thinking about expanding their empires. They were thinking about defending what they already had. Captain. Lee Timon was leading a patrol mission near the border of Vorthak space when his sensors detected something unusual. A small alien craft was approaching under a flag of truce. "They want to talk," reported his communications officer. The alien craft carried a message from the Galactic Council. They were requesting a ceasefire and formal peace negotiations. Lee smiled as he read the message. A few months ago, the aliens had demanded human surrender. Now they were asking for peace talks. "Send a reply," he ordered. "Tell them we will consider their request, but the negotiations will happen on our terms, at a location of our choosing, with our security providing protection." The galaxy was learning a new lesson about humans. They were not just good at war. They were good at winning. But the most important change was not in human capabilities. It was in how other species saw humanity. The beings who had once dismissed humans as primitive weaklings now spoke of them with respect and fear. "They are not like other species," reported a Vorthak intelligence analyst to his superiors. "They do not follow predictable patterns. They adapt to every situation. They learn from every encounter. They turn their enemies' strengths into weaknesses." "How do we fight such beings?" asked his commander. "I do not think we can," the analyst replied. "I think our only choice is to make peace with them and hope they allow us to coexist." On Earth, President Moon was meeting with his advisors to discuss the changing galactic situation. "The aliens are requesting peace talks," General Kang reported. "They are offering significant concessions." "What do you think?" President Moon asked Ambassador Park. Park considered the question carefully. "I think they have learned the lesson we tried to teach them peacefully. Humans are not a species that can be bullied or intimidated. We are not pets or children who need supervision." She looked at the reports from across the galaxy. "But we are also not conquerors. We did not start this fight. We do not want to rule over other species. We just want to be left alone to live our lives and explore the universe." President Moon nodded. "Then we will negotiate. But we will negotiate as equals, not as supplicants." The great human experiment was working. A young species had stood up to the oldest. 6 months after the Great Battle, the galaxy looked very different. The massive alien space station that had once housed the Galactic Council now orbited Earth instead of the neutral world of Kepler Prime. The beings who had once made decisions for the entire galaxy now came to humanity's homeworld to ask for their opinions. President Moon Jae-in walked into the Great Council chamber where he had once been ignored and dismissed. Now the alien leaders stood when he entered. Now they listened when he spoke. Now they asked for his permission before making major decisions. "The Terran Republic recognizes the sovereignty of all species," President Moon said to the assembled alien delegates. "We believe that every civilization has the right to determine its own future without interference from others." The irony was not lost on anyone present. The species that had been threatened with slavery was now offering freedom to their former oppressors. Admiral Choi Min-ho commanded a fleet that had grown to 300 ships, half of them upgraded, alien vessels that had been captured in battle or surrendered voluntarily. From the bridge of his flagship, he could see patrol craft from a dozen different species working together under human coordination. "Status report," he requested from his communications officer. "All sectors clear, sir," Lieutenant Lim So-young replied. "The joint patrols report no hostile activity. Trade routes are secure and operating normally." It was a strange new world. Former enemies were now working together to keep the peace. Vorthak crystal ships flew alongside human destroyers. Quillex hive vessels coordinated with luminary energy craft. All of them followed orders from human commanders, not because humans had forced them to, but because they had learned that human leadership actually worked. Commander Yoon Soo-jin was leading one of these joint patrols in her upgraded ship, the Silent Tiger. Her crew included beings from 6 different species, all working together with an efficiency that impressed even the Quillex. "It is remarkable," said her Vorthak navigation officer Crystal Singer Veltar. 6 months ago we considered humans to be primitive animals. Now we follow human orders and find ourselves more effective than we ever were under our own commanders." Yoon smiled. "Humans learned long ago that the best leaders are not the ones who give orders. They are the ones who help everyone do their best work. The change had not happened overnight. It took time for the aliens to understand that humans were not interested in ruling over them, the way the Galactic Council had ruled over everyone. Ambassador Park Ji-woo had become the galaxy's most important diplomat. Her office on the space station was constantly filled with alien representatives seeking advice, mediation, or simply someone to listen to their problems. The Cathari are having a dispute with the Verdani over mining rights in the Omega sector, her aide reported. Both sides are asking for human arbitration. Park nodded. This was the third such dispute this week. The galaxy's species had spent so long being told what to do by the Council that they had forgotten how to resolve their own conflicts peacefully. Set up a meeting for tomorrow, Park said, and invite representatives from both species. We will find a solution that works for everyone. This was what humans did best, finding ways for different groups to work together instead of fighting each other. Dr. Han Na-young was running the Interspecies Technology Exchange from her new laboratory complex. It was the largest research facility in the galaxy, where scientists from dozens of worlds worked together to solve problems and make discoveries. The luminary energy manipulation techniques are working perfectly with Vorthak crystal technology, reported her research team leader, and the Quilix coordination systems have improved human navigation by 40%. But the humans were careful about what technology they shared. They had learned from their own history that some knowledge could be dangerous in the wrong hands. The weapons research remains classified, Dr. Han reminded her staff. We share defensive technologies and peaceful applications, but military secrets stay within human control. The galaxy had learned to respect this policy. Humans had proven they could defend themselves and their allies. No one wanted to test whether they could also conquer their enemies if they chose to do so. General Kang Dong-woo oversaw the new Galactic Defense Network from his command center on Earth. Human military bases were scattered throughout the galaxy, officially described as peacekeeping stations, but understood by everyone as reminders of human power. The Andromeda sector is reporting unusual activity, his intelligence chief informed him. Long-range sensors have detected ships of unknown design approaching from outside the galaxy. General Kang studied the reports with interest. Send Admiral Kim and the Second Fleet to investigate, and alert all Allied forces to be ready for potential contact with a new species. This was exactly the kind of situation where human leadership proved its value. When faced with the unknown, most alien species either attacked first or hid until the threat went away. Humans preferred to investigate, understand, and then decide on the best course of action. Fleet Admiral Kim Da-won received the orders as his battle group was patrolling the Outer Rim. The Soul Vengeance and its escort vessels immediately changed course for the Andromeda sector. Unknown contacts approaching, reported his sensor operator. Configuration does not match any known species. Kim studied the tactical display with interest. The approaching ships were larger than anything in his fleet, and they were broadcasting messages in a language that the translation computers could not understand. Open a channel, he ordered. Let us see what they have to say. The response came immediately. The new aliens called themselves the Mortaxi Empire, and their message was simple: surrender or be destroyed. It was the same message that humans had received from the Galactic Council just 6 months earlier. But this time the galaxy's response was very different. Within hours, ships from a dozen species were arriving to join Kim's fleet. Not because anyone had ordered them to, but because they had learned that standing together was better than facing threats alone. War leader Krisk, now serving as Admiral Kim's advisor after his release from human captivity, studied the Mortaxi fleet with professional interest. They fight like we used to, he reported. Perfect formations, overwhelming force, expectation of easy victory over inferior species. Kim smiled. Then they are in for the same surprise we gave you. The confrontation came 3 days later. The Mortaxi fleet, expecting to face scattered and frightened aliens, instead found themselves facing a united coalition of species, working together under human coordination. Unknown vessels. Admiral Kim broadcast on all frequencies. You have entered sovereign galactic space with hostile intentions. Withdraw immediately or face the consequences. The Mortaxi response was predictable. They attacked with overwhelming force, expecting their superior numbers to win the day quickly. Instead, they found themselves facing tactics they had never seen before. Human unpredictability combined with Vorthak resilience, Quillix coordination, and Luminari energy manipulation. Every species contributed their strengths to a unified defense. The battle lasted only 6 hours. When it was over, the Mortaxi fleet was either destroyed or surrendering, and their survivors were asking how such a thing was possible. Captain Li Tae-min, now bearing admiral's rank, explained it to the captured Mortaxi commander. "You made the same mistake that others have made before you," he said. "You assumed that because you were bigger and stronger you would automatically win." He gestured toward the mixed fleet of human and alien ships visible through the command center windows. But strength is not about the size of your ships or the power of your weapons. It is about working together, learning from each other, and never giving up. The Mortaxi commander looked confused. "But you are different species. How can you work together? Do you not compete for resources and territory?" Admiral Lee smiled. "We learned something important. There is enough room in the galaxy for everyone, as long as everyone is willing to share and cooperate." Back on Earth, President Moon was addressing the reformed Galactic Council for the last time. After 6 months of human leadership, the galaxy was stable, peaceful, and prosperous. Trade was flowing freely between worlds. Scientific discoveries were being shared. Conflicts were being resolved through negotiation instead of war. "The time has come," President Moon announced, "for humans to step back and allow the galaxy to govern itself." The alien delegates looked shocked. "But your leadership has brought us peace and prosperity," protested the new Vorthak representative. "Why would you abandon us now?" "Because," President Moon replied, "the goal was never for humans to rule the galaxy. The goal was to teach the galaxy that it could rule itself peacefully." Ambassador Park stood up from her seat. "We came seeking friendship, and were met with threats. We offered peace and were forced to fight for survival. But we never wanted to be conquerors or tyrants." She looked around the chamber at the faces of beings who had once dismissed humans as primitive weaklings. "We wanted to be partners, equals, friends. The galaxy now has institutions that can maintain peace without human oversight," she continued. "You have learned to work together, to resolve conflicts peacefully, to share knowledge and resources." "President," Moon nodded. "But remember the lesson you learned.